In April 2004, according to a study done by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, 107 bottlenose dolphins were found dead, washed up together along the Florida Panhandle. What was categorized as an unusual mortality event by the National Marine Fisheries Service led to further investigation into what really happened to these animals. Upon further analysis, scientists found that all 107 dolphins had high levels of brevetoxins, a neurotoxin produced in the annual late summer red tide, or harmful algal bloom in Florida. This case is one of many where sea animals have died on account of the rising toxicity in the ocean. These red tides are caused by the ocean's growing dead zones, and they are not only affecting animal health, but the health of humans all over the country and all over the world. In order to regulate and decrease the amount of dead zones in the ocean, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, or NOAA, along with the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, should expand the Clean Water Act to all U.S. waterways. Ocean dead zones are exactly what they sound like. There are places in our ocean where life cannot be sustained. And contrary to what one might assume, this is not actually caused by the chemicals that are being dumped into the oceans, but the overabundance of nutrients that are being dumped there instead. Fertilizer runoff from farms are leaking into lakes, streams, and groundwater that all lead to the ocean, and this causes harmful algal blooms, or HAB events. Due to the excess phosphorus and nitrogen in these fertilizers, algae in the water starts to grow at alarming rates and covers the surface of the water, and this in turn blocks sunlight from reaching the plants below. Sunlight is necessary in the photosynthesis of plants to create oxygen, and with this excess algae blocking out the sun, the plants below cannot create the oxygen needed to survive, and they die off. And when the algae on top of the water dies off as well, this is what creates the dead zone. This process of eutrophication causes extremely low levels of oxygen in the water, creating an environment that is almost uninhabitable to both marine plants and marine wildlife as well. And animals either have to leave the area or they suffocate and die. Red tides are caused by the HABs, and with this, when this algae blooms as a result of the excess nutrients in the ocean, it releases harmful toxins that kill marine life and can even cause humans to suffer as well. This algae washes ashore in a reddish color, hence the name red tide. The amount of dead zones in the ocean has increased from 12 in 1960 to over 300 today. This includes the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, which covers an area of roughly the size of New Jersey in 2008, and has increased, as you can see, in 2011. To combat this growing issue of water pollution and stop the creation and growth of more dead zones, the Clean Water Act was passed in 1948 to regulate the discharge of pollutants into our U.S. waterways. The Clean Water Act is still in effect today, but has not been extended to all U.S. waterways. This leaves room for huge companies, especially farming corporations, to dump pollutants into our U.S. waterways without constraint. If the Clean Water Act isn't spread to all U.S. waterways, the amount of dead zones in the ocean will grow at an alarming rate. These dead zones not only harm marine ecosystems, but can harm the U.S. economy and human health as well. According to an article by David Biello of Scientific American, a single HAB event off the coast of New York State and the coast of New Jersey in 1976 ended up costing commercial and recreational fisheries in the region more than $500 million. With less fish, commercial fisheries have to go out farther into the ocean to catch what they need to. This takes up time and resources, costing the industry millions of dollars. Furthermore, according to an article by the National Centers for Coastal and Ocean Science, written in 2016, HABs occurring in the U.S. marine waters are conservatively estimated to have an average annual cost of $82 million due to the impacts on human health, tourism, and the seafood industry. Every coastal state has suffered the effects of these harmful algal blooms over the last decade, and it's starting to take its toll. However, HABs in ocean dead zones go so much further than just losing our money. And the deaths of those dolphins in Florida is only one case of the disastrous effects HABs have on marine life. The toxins associated with the dead zones have led to the deaths of countless animals, even animals who haven't even come in contact with the dead zones directly. The dolphins that died in Florida were poisoned and died by eating toxic fish that were infected by this HAB in the Gulf of Mexico. A dead humpback whale was found breached near Cape Cod, and it died due to the toxins present in mackerel it had eaten more than a month beforehand. It is now confirmed by a survey done on marine mammals by the Woods Hole Oceanic Institute that in 1996, when 150 endangered manatees died in Florida, the toxins in the Gulf Dead Zone were the cause of it. Estimates suggest that about 10% of that extremely endangered population was killed because of it. It says a lot that animals that haven't even been near these dead zones are dying as a result of these growing toxicities in our ocean waters. And humans have been negatively impacted as well. The same red brevetoxins found in the dolphins' stomachs are also being found in contaminated shellfish that we eat, and in toxic sea spray that's coming up from the water. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Center for Environmental Health and Biomolecular Research has found that brevetoxins react with DNA in our lung tissue and attach to the DNA bases that code for our genetic information. This change in our genetic code can lead to the development of cancer and other serious health risks. And the more HIV events that happen, the more dead zones that develop in our ocean. Our ocean is not only dying, but we as humans are suffering as a result of it. And there are those in the American government who are investing millions of dollars in protecting the farming interests that are contributing to the pollution of our lakes, streams, and oceans. In the same article, Agribusiness Lobby Fights Against Clean Water by Environment America, it says that from 2005 to 2010, the 10 leading agribusiness interests spent $127 million lobbying Congress and federal agencies, fielding 159 lobbyists in 2010. It is these agribusiness lobbyists who are fighting back against the Clean Water Act for the cleanup and regulation of all of our U.S. waterways, including Chesapeake Bay, whose cleanup was derailed in 2010 because of it. These agribusiness lobbyists claim to be protecting the American farming interests, which is a huge sector in our American economy. But in reality, these agribusinesses don't have the protection of American agriculture in mind. This corrupt system is a ploy for money and power in the government. And over the past decade, these agribusiness corporations have paid more than $120 million to state-level candidates and party committees. These lobbyists back legislation that would prevent the EPA from closing a long-standing loophole that in its regulation of pesticide discharges into our waterways. If stricter regulations aren't put into place, these big business corporations will lead to further water pollution and destruction of not only our oceans, but all of our other waterways as well. The ocean is vital to life on Earth, and without it, we cannot survive. We rely on it for the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the very aspects of Earth that make it habitable. If action isn't taken to slow the pollution and regulate the toxins that are put into our ocean, it will continue to die at a faster rate. The EPA proposed a new rule that extends the protection of our waterways back in March 2014 to not only some of our waterways, but to every single one. This is an excellent first step, but there needs to be more protection, especially in a day and age where protecting our environment goes past just our waterways, but the ways in which we protect them as well. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel overwhelming, but the change is possible, and the fight to protect clean water must continue. By signing up and supporting the National Resources Defense Council, or NRDC, you can stay involved with projects that they are doing to not only improve our water, but to protect the many other aspects of our environment that need our help as well. Thank you.
Okay.